Most tradesmen would never admit to this, and I guarantee most would never show you this. But I want to show you something in this video. I want to show you something that a lot of fellas would find quite embarrassing. I want to show you what happens when a job goes completely wrong, and I think it's quite important that you see it. And at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you why I believe it's so important that you see this. Let's get started.
Right, so this is our next little job. This is just a nice little job in between. There used to be a conservatory here, and this is going to get retiled and turned into like a bit of a patio area. But they've got this wall that used to be inside, but now it's outside. So we've got all sorts of different backgrounds. There used to be a doorway there, we've got a new doorway over there. There's painted brickwork, there's all sorts of stuff going on. So what you haven't seen up to now, we've already been here yesterday, and on the painted brickwork and on the thermalite block, we have painted this stuff. Exterior pre-grit, just to give the render something to key to on the painted brickwork. Now, we are using this X32 base coat, which, to be fair, sticks to absolutely anything anyway, but I like to go belts and braces, so we have applied a pre-grit just because it is painted and it helps me sleep better at night. Now, first job of the day, we're going to get these downspouts off and start cutting beads, but then we noticed, let me just take the battery off this. You might not be able to see this, but there's a twist in this. It's got a little kink in it, not because it was going to shatter, but because somebody squashed it in the back of the van somehow, although they're not accepting the blame. No. So we're going to swap this out and put a new blade on it, because you can't use this with a kink in it. So there's a little tip for you as well. The easiest way to do it, because you always lose them little spanners. Make sure it's not plugged in, make sure there's no battery on it. Press the little button, just hold the blade and twist the blade. Unscrews dead easy like that. And then the same in reverse when you're putting one on. Set it up, lock it off, give it a little twist. There we go.
Now, I thought that was a problem, but little did I know what was to come.
He's a good one.
But usually when you're rendering, it's standard to render from the right to the left. But because the lintel is set back above the patio door, I've had to fill it out. I don't want it to sag, so I'm trying to give it as long as possible before I have to put another coat over the top of it.
Just going all over the wall now. We've got some base coat left. I'm looking for any hollows. See, like that there now. I could build a bit more up at the top. See, it's only about, what, 10 mil, 12 mil, but it saves throwing the gear away. So if you just look all over the wall, look at those here. There's a little bit here that I can fill out. So it's a bit tight in this area, so I'll put some here. I'll put some on up there, and we use all the stuff up that way, and try and get this base coat as flat as we can. Just helps, because when we put the top coat on, we can rule that off and derby it, and it's, you know, you're not trying to build loads out with the top coat, which is a pain in the arse because it's sagging, it's drooping. So you want all that on an even sort of thickness. It's easier to build out the base coat than the top coat.
So after we finished the scratch coat, we drove about 20 miles to go and do another job for an old couple, and we looked outside and this was the weather. So we've come to plaster a ceiling, and halfway through it, it's lashing down outside, and the customer from the first job has just phoned to say that the rain's hitting the wall and it's washing it down the wall. Now, really, we need to get back there and put sheets on to cover it, but one, we haven't got any sheets on the van that'll do it, and 2, we can't leave this ceiling. So I said as soon as we can get back there, we will. So yeah, such is life.
So this is the joys of rendering. This is what happens. So with anyway, it is what it is. We were on another job and the heavens decided to open, so we've come back here and it's all washing off. But on the brighter side, the beads that we put all around the patio doors, they're all cut, so when we come back we can just reuse them, so that makes me feel a little bit better, you know. And fortunately all this floor is getting dug up, so this isn't really an issue. It's just a shame that we spent so long levelling these walls out, getting them look nice, for it all just to wash off. Anyway, now our main priority this morning is to get these doors cleaned off. We got here quite early. This stuff is still soft, so it will just wash off. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. Now I know there's going to be people that say, why didn't you check the forecast? Why didn't you look at the weather curve? Why didn't you see if it was going to rain? Let me tell you something about rendering. I had £1 for every time I took a day off because the forecast didn't look good. I would never get nothing done. Now, the thing with this is, you can't do it in the sun, you can't do it in the wind, you can't do it in the frost, you can't do it in the rain. There's literally, in the UK, not really an ideal time to ever do rendering. The weather looked good when we put it on. It was nice and dry. It was forecast, a couple of little showers. And I thought, this little wall, it probably won't take much weather because of where it is, you know. And it's base coat, it doesn't matter if it gets a little bit of water on it here and there. Didn't quite expect the driving rain to be coming from the south, going sideways into the wall. But anyway, here we are. We'll get this cleaned up and we'll try again. Right, render is all back on again and all cleaned up. That wasn't the funnest moment I've had in my life, I'll tell you. But luckily enough, it's only a little tiny wall. Can you imagine that being a full gable of a house? All the colour running down the street and you've got to stay and wash it all night. I mean, I'm fortunate this stuff's going here. Imagine if that was staying and I had to stay last night and polish it, make sure there was no staining whatsoever. I mean, amazingly, it's all come up nice and clean anyway, but anyway, there we go. Not taking any chances today because the rain is starting again now. It's like a game, isn't it? Who's going to win?
The following day.
Okay, so because of how cold it is now, we've decided to do a next day scrape. So the time is now exactly 4 o'clock. We're going to lose the sunlight in a minute. We've only got a little tiny wall to do. Nathan's mixing up now. We've been busy all day on another job, so we're a bit tired, a bit hungry and a bit cold. Nate's trying to burn me drill out. So anyway, let's get this top coated. Okay, so for those that you don't know about my little band system, what I do is look at the wall and determine the shortest distance. So this is shorter that way than it is wide. So what I'll do is I'll put bands in that way down, right? Because the last thing you want to do is put the whole top of the wall on and then have a big horrible junk line right across the middle. Doesn't really count for jobs this size, but the principles apply to when you're doing massive jobs, big gables. You want to put them in bands because this stuff gets a skin on it. As soon as that gets a skin on it and you get a joint line, call it ghost lines. When you scrape it back, you have a big white line along the wall. Now on this you probably wouldn't, but even still, it's always good to have the same system set in place at every single job, just so you're in the habit of putting it in bands. So what I'll do is I will literally put a band down the wall here, and then another band, and then another band. Now what you've got to do is do it in 2 passes. So when I get to the third band, I'll then put the second pass here, first pass, second pass, first pass, second pass, first pass. And I'll work my way down the wall doing that. And that way then you can put big areas on by yourself just by doing it in bands, and you don't get a dry joint.
Hey. Yeah, let's see how you do under pressure. Oh. Yeah, I've been wanting this forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra. Walk with me, you know that I got it. Come with me, let's take a trip to the islands. We up on the jet, we'll do more than just fly on it. Stand on that hill, you gon' die on it. Boom, boom. Baby, I'm not one of them, you should try on it. Miss me with all that, I'm on it index. Whip this up, I send you back to your ex. But good luck with that, this is big as it gets. Hey, let's see how you do under pressure. Let's see how you do under pressure. Give them a name.
1 hour and 16 minutes done. It's all on. There's a grid down here, but we put a tile over the grid because you don't want top coat going down there. Usually we just put an empty bag over it. Nathan's gonna have a quick scoop up of all the stuff off the floor. We just about had enough. We were just literally on the limit. If it was one more handboard's worth, then we wouldn't have had enough, so that was quite lucky. Right, and that's it for today. It's 5:30. We are all cleaned up and sheeted up because we aren't taking any chances this time, especially the top coat.
The following morning.
Oh, lovely. And still just about get a little impression in it, so that's just right. This is absolutely perfect just to rub back now. It's like still just a little bit soft, which is what you want. You don't want it like absolutely bone dry and dried out because it's harder to scrape. And if there's any little issue, there's nothing you can do about it. Whereas when the stuff's still a little tiny bit pliable, and it's still a little bit squidgy, there you are, I'll show you ideally. This is how you want it. When you can still get a bit of the stuff together. And it's like snowball, you can make a snowball with it. That's ideal, because if for any reason, you know, if somebody knocked into it, if that fell down and made a big hole in it, you can get some of that stuff and you can push it back in and scrape it back, and it still comes out okay. Whereas once it's dried too much, you can't. That option's gone.
So the job's back on track now, and it'll soon be finished. Now I could have edited out the bit where it washed off and you would have been none the wiser. But in just a moment I'm going to tell you why I thought it was important to leave it in.
And that's it, job done. Nathan's just given the windows a nice little wipe down with a microfiber cloth. All scraped. Finished.
So any of you guys that watch my channel will know that I made this YouTube channel for my little lad, for my son, and I've packed it full of plastering lessons for him, but I want him to get some little life lessons as well. So I want him to understand it doesn't matter how good you think you are, it doesn't matter how much you sort of plan. Sometimes life just makes it like this. Things will go wrong. Now granted, I could have done more things to stop that washing off, okay? But ultimately, what I've accepted is, it doesn't matter if it wasn't that, it would have been something else. Things will go wrong in life. It's just a fact of life. And they usually come with like multiple things at a time. For instance, you know, something like this will happen where the job will wash off and the next morning you'll have a flat tire on your van, and then someone will rob your tools, or, you know, things all happen at once. but you've got to expect them, and you've just got to keep smiling, because nobody gets away with it. There's nobody walking this earth that bad things haven't happened to, so expect the bad things to come, and it won't hurt half as much then. Now, granted that when bad things happen, it costs you time, it costs you money, it causes embarrassment, it causes stress. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because in a week's time, you'll be sat in the pub having a pint, laughing about it. By the time you guys watch this video, this job will be like a distant memory to me. The stress and the money that I lost will all be frizzled away, it won't matter. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. I look forward to your comments. Cheers, guys.